have to leave. We're just saying you need to behave, or I will come back here.
Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Let the Show Begin. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples. I hope you had a terrific Christmas or holidays, or if you don't celebrate anything, I hope you're doing pretty good. Well, here we are, the end of 2022. Was it good for you? I hope so. This compilation is every video I did for 2022. However, keep in mind, I didn't create this channel until June of 2022. Just a disclaimer, but my first few videos or so are not the best audio quality. I was using the microphone that came with my computer, which isn't the best. Eventually, as the videos progress, it does improve. I am thinking about redoing those earlier videos in the future with better audio quality, but that's in somewhat the distant future. I just want to thank everyone who has been watching my videos. I know it's not grade A production value, but I can guarantee I try my best with what I have and what I know. Learning as I go. Here's to a new year, and new videos are on the way. Without further ado, let's watch Scared Sheetless, all videos for 2022. Enjoy, and keep it scary. Hello there, this is James, from Scared Sheetless. This is my very first video, so I am not going to be doing the usual more macabre, scary YouTube thing, right, where I talk in a scary voice and, you know, stuff like that. It's just not my character. So I'm just gonna be straight up just giving you, you know, some of my experiences with the paranormal, whether it's by myself or with my paranormal investigation team that is no longer active, has been active in a very long time. But, you know, we had a lot of adventures, that's for sure. So the first video I'm going to do is an EVP, which stands for Electronic Voice Phenomena. Video. This is a clip. I posted this years and years ago on another YouTube channel I have. But I'm trying to separate things, like that channel's for this, and this channel's for that, and that channel's for this. I'm getting way over my head here, having so many YouTube channels. But I did want to start talking about the paranormal again because it's something that I've always been attached to. Sometimes not attracted to, but most of the time attached to for some reason or another. And this video is going to be no different. So to give you a background story, so what happened was this EVP comes from probably 15 years ago, which is probably why I sound a lot younger. You know, because, geez, I was probably in my early 20s when I did this. Now I'm in my mid-30s. But so background story, where I live, I have a garage, and there's always been, like, strange things that happen in the garage. It's kind of specifically happens either in my garage or at my aunt and uncle's house. They live next door to me, so it's my house, the garage, and then their house. And it's almost like their house and the garage is kind of like Spook Central, if you will. There's always weird stuff happening. The garage is probably like the epicenter of it, you know. I'll go into more detail about other stuff that's happened at the garage, you know, so because I'm trying to keep everything as a singular adventure, if you will, you know, not go off on a tangent. But so yeah, this EVP comes from like a mini investigation. It was me, my cousin, and his friend. They went upstairs, so there was an downstairs and upstairs in my garage. They went upstairs and actually got a lot more spookier results. while I was downstairs by myself in the dark. Lots of stuff to trip over and probably hurt myself, but thankfully didn't. But as you can hear, I ask the question, did you die on this land? And then I actually get a response. Now, I've tried to turn up the response, but you're gonna have to turn up your volume, but you can clearly hear someone yell no. So you'll have to listen closely. All these videos that I put up about, allegedly evidence of the paranormal, I'm not saying that is, to me, there's an explanation for everything. I always tell people I'm a half-ass skeptic. I want to believe, but I do think there's an explanation for everything. But you have to be like that. But anyway, so this is that video. I'm gonna try and replay it a few times so that way you can really listen. And tell me what you think. Now, before I begin, I should have really wrote a script before I press record. My cousin listened to it, and he thinks it's his dad calling to his dog. But his at the time, his dad had a dog named Max. I hear no. I don't hear Max. But you can let me know what you hear. But yeah, okay. Let's do that. Let me know what you think.
Now, I know this may be a sensitive question, but how'd you die? Did you die on this land? Now, I know this may be a sensitive question, but how'd you die? Did you die on this land?
Alright, so what'd you think of that? Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. I know there's something everybody says about this bell thingy to get notifications, so hey, feel free to click that too. No pressure, but it does help, and let me know, and the content I create, if you like it or not. So yeah, so thank you for watching. Take care, and please feel free to send me any suggestions on future videos. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Hey there, everybody. This is James from Scared Cheatless. Welcome to another EVP video. So this one is the same context as the last EVP, right where we're doing an investigation in my garage. This one is a little bit more creepier, I think, although the next one after this is even more creepier. It keeps ascending, the creepy factor. So yeah, just a quick rundown of the context. Me, my cousin, and a friend of his were doing an investigation inside my garage, which has always had weird going-ons in it, and so we did a little investigation, and this one, the last one was from my recorder, and because I was by myself downstairs in the garage. This one is from my cousin and his friend who are upstairs in the garage. What's funny is during the whole investigation, we couldn't hear each other, even though I talked pretty loud. And he claims that, and my cousin knows how to tag things. So say if someone whispers something, usually in investigations you say, oh, tag whispering. So that way, when you listen back, you're not going to mistake yourself or a friend or whatever, a co-investigator, as a potential spirit talking to you. So that's why it's always a good idea to tag. whatever you do. Like if you're walking, tag it. If you're whispering, tag it. If there's a car going by, tag it. House selling, whatever. That way, when you're listening, you won't get confused or you won't assume something is paranormal while it actually really isn't. So he knows all that. And he claims up and down that nobody said get out. Yeah. Okay, this went longer than I anticipated, but yeah, enjoy.
Dude, I just got an instant sweat.
What's interesting about this one is right after it says get out, you can hear my cousin talk about how he just got instant sweat. I think he meant like a cold sweat or whatever. So I always found that really interesting. I kept grilling him like an interrogator. I'm like, "Are you sure you weren't trying to mess with me?" And he's like, "No, and he's not that type of guy. And he's actually always had a big interest in the paranormal too. So I don't think he would do something like that. So yeah, I just always found it interesting and kind of creepy that after you hear the get out, all of a sudden he says that. So I always found that kind of interesting. But yeah, I know you can't hear it, but you have to really listen. I remember listening to this on a stereo, so we were able to turn it up pretty loud, and that's how we could hear all this. But yeah, I've tried turning up the audio on here, but maybe it works. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's. I'll play it again. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do what Ghost Adventures does. Do like a lot of replays until you get it. But yeah, don't ever play a drinking game with that either. You'll get pretty tossed pretty quick. But yeah. So I'll replay it a few times and let me know if you hear it or if you hear something else. All right.
Dude, I just got an instant sweat. Dude, I just got an instant sweat.
All right, so what'd you think of that? Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. I know there's something everybody says about this bell thingy to get notifications, so hey, feel free to click that too. No pressure, but it does help, and let me know, and the content I create, if you like it or not. So yeah, thank you for watching. Take care, and please feel free to send me any suggestions on future videos. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Hey there, Graveyard Disciples. It's James here from Scared Sheetless. Thank you for watching this video. I'm supposed to say that at the end. Oh, well. I'm not going to do a retake. This next video is another one, part of the my Haunted Garage series. I know it's getting repetitive, but I do have some other videos in the works. They're a little bit more time consuming, while this one is just record the context portion, which is this, and then show the EVP, or have you listen to the EVP, I should say. So the context is basically the same as the last two EVP videos I've done. This was taken in the garage, my garage, and this one was captured by my cousin, who was upstairs in the garage while I was still downstairs, doing my own little EVP session. I'm kind of jealous. He got so much more than I did, and yeah. I think this one is the last EVP of the garage that we've found, at least. I still have so much EVP, audio recordings and stuff to go through. They're like a decade back. But yeah. Anyway. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I hate that. Trail of thought. There's a trail of thought, train of thought. I don't freaking know. But anyway, so yes, me and him, when we reviewed this, we believe it says, I don't want to go back there. I say it sounds like Rick. He says, I think he agreed too, but I think he also heard something else. I just forgot what it was. I should have asked him before I put this up, but God, this was 10 years ago. He probably doesn't even remember. But anyway, so I'm going to make this quick. Anyway, here's the EVP. I'm going to replay it a couple times or a few times, just so you can hear it. And you may want to turn your volume up as high as it can go. And then I'll replay it 3 times. The third time, then turn down your volume after the third one's done. Okay, anyway, here we go. Thank you so much for watching this. I completely appreciate it. I do have a link to the Scared Sheetless website, or Blogspot, I should say. If you have any suggestions or anything like that for videos you'd like for me to do, just leave a comment below. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. All right, folks, take care and keep it scary. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be reading an article I did on May 28th, 2011, so quite a while ago. This is from my website, Scared Sheetless. So Scared Sheetless, ncn.blogspot.com. I'll put a link in the description. And today we're going to be talking about my first paranormal experience. Okay, so let's get to it. The story takes place in Bethlehem, New Hampshire. And I am going to redact the road because this property has since become private property. So I do not feel comfortable giving the road that's located on. And, just in case, some hooligans or something go and try to mess with it or whatever. I'll get to that in a bit. But anyway, I first heard about the cat house from my cousin, who was a frequent visitor of the not-so-famous ghost destination back when the paranormal didn't fascinate me as much as it does now. The cat house is a rundown home that has been abandoned for more than 35 years. So I've been told. Back then, I was told that 2 women lived there, a mother and a daughter, and they mysteriously disappeared, allegedly. Not really. In reality, the older lady is or was in a nursing home. I'm assuming that by now she's probably deceased. And I have not heard of the supposed daughter's whereabouts. One thing is for sure, though, is that the older lady had a lot of cats. Some would estimate well over 100. Now, I'm a cat lover myself, mostly because I'm allergic to dog hair, but that's just ridiculous. I'd hate to see the cat food litter bill, even for it being that long ago. But fast forward years later, and the house is abandoned. I got an email roughly a year ago from a reader telling me she was actually inside the house and that it was a disaster. Papers, gross smells, and even a mummified cat was found in this home. But after my experience, I strongly believe that there is something more there. I've never been inside the house myself. Of course, this was at the time I wrote the article. I have been in there, and I'll get to that in another video. But inside glance would show that the house is run down and vandalized. Most of the windows are smashed. The front door looks to be kicked in. There was an old cart out front, but that's been recently removed. Did I believe it was haunted when I first saw it? No. I just saw it was an abandoned home and the kids breaking in. Have given it that haunted, scary look. One night when I was about 16 or 17, me and my cousin went to hell. You can find more about Bethlehem's version of hell on my website, and I will do a video on it eventually. And after we went to hell, we went to the cat house. This was an experience that I soon not forget, and it probably will take to my grave. We drove up beside the house, my cousin looking for a digital camera, and me just looking at the house. The house itself had this glow to it, not a ghostly glow, but as if the house was alive. My mind started to play tricks on me, or did it? I started to hear a cat's meow as if it was right next to me. I looked and there was nothing there but the cracked pavement on this old back road in Bethlehem, New Hampshire. My cousin found the camera, but no batteries. As we were looking for batteries, I remember that I looked into the glove compartment, and something made me look out of my cousin's window as the house is on the left side of the road. Standing in the doorway was an old lady. She had a dress on, looked early 20th century to me, and I couldn't really make out the face. The thing that got me, though, was her eyes, or where her eyes were supposed to be. They were bright blue. If someone took her eyes out and replaced them with, I say blue rubies, but I believe that is wrong. Wrong jewelry, because I believe rubies are red. But anyway, this was back in 2011, so... it was both fascinating and frightening all at the same time. The only problem was she was still there. Even after a bit of me staring at her, she was still there, like she didn't care that the living saw her. This was me if she was indeed a ghost. After snapping a few pictures, we left, but what I saw has been on my mind for quite some time after that. I have had more experience thanks to my time with NEPI, which is Northeastern Paranormal Investigations, as well as other times as well. And I hope it never stops, but if I ever make a book on the paranormal, the first person I'm thinking of, the first ghost I'm ever thinking of, is the Cat House Spirit in Bethlehem, New Hampshire. All right, so that was a quick article. Only 5 minutes of reading. To this day, I still remember it, 12 years later, or actually it'd probably be more than that, because that was 2011, so by the time I wrote that, I would have been, let's see... 21, 22. I would have been 23 when I wrote that article. I'm now 34. It's I still remember it vividly, as you do with any other first-time experiences you've ever had in your life. I don't know if, right now, as I've said in previous videos, I kind of consider myself a half-assed skeptic. I used to be a hardcore believer, but now it's like I want to believe, but I think there's an explanation for everything, and I've always had kind of, ever since I was a kid, like an overactive imagination. So maybe it was the fact I really wanted to see something, and imagination took over reality. I don't know. But who knows? Stranger things have happened, and I've had a lot of strange experiences with my time with my former paranormal investigation team. They have since gone their separate ways and stuff like that, so haven't really had a paranormal experience in a long time. But Yeah, the cat house is something else. Last I heard, so I've heard various things over the years. Um, some people have said it's been torn down, and then just recently, I was talking to a guy who lives on the road, and I asked him, I was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of the cat house?" And he's like, "Yeah, that abandoned house, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Right, that one." And he said, "Oh, it's some guy buying. He's trying to renovate it." And I'm like, "Yeah, good luck with that. That's got to be a lot of friggin' money." And which it is. That place is, as you can see, I should have a picture of it up there right now. Yeah, it's just, it's got to be a lot of work, especially considering I've been inside of it, which I do not condone because now, like I said, this gentleman told me it's private property, and plus someone owns it now, so it's that was actually the only urban exploration I've ever done, and it was interesting. I'll keep it at that. I am going to do a video on the going inside of it, and try to find the pictures I've took of that. But other than that, it was a first for me, so I'll always remember it. So yep, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching this. I completely appreciate it. I do have a link to the Scared Sheetless website, or Blogspot, I should say. And if you have any suggestions or anything like that for videos you'd like for me to do, just leave a comment below. And please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. All right, folks, take care and keep it scary. Hey there, everyone. How are you today? Sorry if you can hear my fan in the background. It is really hot in New Hampshire today. So I was going to do a video on the town hall in Lisbon, but the problem is I'm not going to be able to get that out on time. I have the audio recorded, some select photos, but just not enough to do the video any justice. So I'm just going to move on with something that I can do relatively quickly, and that is another video on the cat house. I do thank everyone for watching the last video. It actually did pretty good, all things considered, and you actually gained some new subscribers because of it. So, hey, let's hit while the iron is still hot. Once again, I got to do an article reading on an old article of mine. So, yeah, let's do that. So this one, it's called Journey into the Cat House. I posted it on November 15th, 2012. So keep that in mind when I'm reading this. Here we go. The smell is what hits you first. I don't know whether it was just the musty smell of years of no maintenance, no washing, or that something died within the walls. The place is fallen apart inside and out, but the mystery of the cat house still remains hidden within the walls. If you ever read the story about the cat house, it is the first article I ever did for a newspaper back in 2009. I did a revision of the article about a year ago, 2011, that added some new details of the story. I also just did that video recently, so I will have a link to that in the description. Both versions are on my website, which you can find in the comments below. In this case, I will have a link to both articles in the description as well. The cat house hasn't really been an ideal ghost hunting spot until I did the revised article. It just seemed like everyone wants to flock to it now. I'm not tooting my own horn either. It could be a coincidence. But the idea of me causing it to be an ideal late-night fright flatters me. I can't deny that. On the inside, it looks like an ordinary abandoned house. But on the on the inside, oh, that's a mess up. On the let's redo that, shall we? Okay, we'll just keep that blooper in there. On the inside, it looks like an ordinary abandoned house, but on the outside, wow, that's a different story. This is why you got to proofread your stuff, man. But then again, this was published, so I guess it was the editor's fault as well. When you step foot inside, you are literally just stepping on heaps of junk. Papers, chairs, old appliances, old food still in jars or cans, and old records. That's one thing, and I'm diverting from the article for a second. That's one thing I can remember the most, is I remember walking on all this junk, all these papers. This person had newspapers everywhere. There was no room to walk. We had, whatever color the floor was, if it was carpet or what tiles or whatever, no idea. We didn't even see the floor while we were there until we went upstairs, but I think I mentioned that here. But that's one thing I remember, is the crunching sound. And looking down, seeing all these old records, I kind of felt bad, because I'm sure, they were historic or whatever. I didn't really read any of the labels, but I just kind of felt bad breaking them. But anyway, it doesn't seem like let's get there. Okay. It doesn't seem like the ideal spot anyone would like to go, except teenagers, maybe. But it was just a thrill to finally be in the house where I had my first paranormal sighting. Every corner of the house, there was something that told a story. How this person, whose nickname around these parts is said to be Timmy, must have been a hoarder. There's tons of old books, old furniture, some still in decent shape, and the old-time records haven't all been crushed to pieces, although I did help. It's sad, though, that people have vandalized the spot, because it was once someone's item, and if spirits do exist, I wouldn't want to think they would want their personal items destroyed. To be quite honest, it doesn't really hurt my feelings if I went back in there or not. It was great to see the place on the inside, because now I have a better idea of what people meant when they told me this place is literally trashed. And, well, it's the famous cat house. Why wouldn't I want to check it out? But nothing went up in the night, but some felt that there was a presence there. It just was keeping its distance. As of this writing, I still have plenty of evidence to go through, but I will post pictures on my website, which I don't think I ever did. Please remember, I do not condone anyone to go into this house, especially now, because someone apparently owns it and they're renovating it, like I said in the last video. Actually, it will make me feel better if no one went in it. There's too many hazards and too much of a chance for an accident to happen. A little ghost hunter advice: use your head, because every inch is an obstacle while hunting. And, okay. So that's the end of the article. So yeah, I do... There's some things I didn't mention in the article. I have no idea why. Maybe it's because I was restrained for, because there's a word count when you do an article. It's not like you can write a book. It's like maybe 800 words or less that you can do, if I remember right. I think that was Trendy Times that had that rule. That was like 800 words. I have gone away with like, hey, can I do a little extra? But he only let me do that like maybe 2 or 3 times. And I wrote for that paper, I think, for 2 years. So some of the things I did mention was we had some kids with us, teenagers with us. Some of the investigators' kids brought their friends with them. And I remember there was a cellar or a basement, and you couldn't get down there because the stairs were just gone. They were destroyed. But they made like a makeshift staircase to go down there. I didn't go down, and I don't think we have any photos of what was down there. From what I've been told, there was like a bunch of food preserves in there, like food in jars, that kind of stuff. So yeah, Then I remember going upstairs, and the upstairs was actually not bad. It was in pretty good shape, all things considered. We could actually see the floor. It was like carpet up there or something. But downstairs, you could. There was no floor to be seen. I'm not joking when I said that. We don't know. We didn't see any floor. It's not like people made a clearing or anything. You were literally just stepping on trash. And I just remember old newspapers, like just the feeling of stepping on these stacks of newspapers to get through. And moving around at my size, even back then, isn't that easy because I'm a big boy. So, yeah, just, but even though I've had experience there, I didn't really feel anything. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. I did ask Anthony for who went there for any photos. I think he only sent me maybe one or two. And there was one that he said you can see eyes in the window. I'll make sure to put that up there right about now. It should be there. But yeah, he said if you look at the window, you can see eyes. Not sure. Hey, could be. But yeah, what else was I gonna mention? This is why you gotta write a script, or I gotta write a script, so that way I get everything out of the way and I'm not just doing it out the cuff. Because it's funny when I... okay, I just thought of it, but it's funny when I... Anyway, yeah. It's a problem with having a scatterbrain and trying to do YouTube videos. It's kind of like you go in different directions. But anyway, I do remember what I was going to say, and that is, I remember it had to be some visual for people going by, because we went to the cat house in Bethlehem with probably 3 or 4 vehicles, and the road that it's on is very narrow, like just very narrow country road. And I just remember we were upstairs and we had to, as soon as someone says kill the lights, you shut your flashlight off. Any lights that you have, you shut right off. No questions asked, no nothing. You do it right away. It's kind of a rule with ghost hunting, especially in a place where you could get into trouble. So we killed the lights, and I remember looking out the window and seeing a couple cars go by, and of course they were going slow, so they were like looking in. I'm sure they knew that we were in there, but we weren't partying or we weren't trashing the place. I mean, yeah, I know I said I broke a couple records, but that's because, like I said, you're stepping on stuff anyway. There's no way around it. But yeah, I just remember, I don't remember much. I mean, but I don't have to go back in there. It wasn't anything special, I guess. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Kind of thinking that more was going to happen, but nothing happened. I mean, like I said, the article, there was probably a few people who felt things, because we have empaths, I think they're called. People who supposedly can feel spirits. And, like the article said, they said they felt a presence, but it was keeping its distance from us. Take that for what you will. So the famous cat house, I was able to go into once, and got to experience this, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, I think I'm going to end that there. Just wanted to get something out this weekend. I kind of feel bad. I was doing a video on the Lisbon Town Hall, but I only had like a few photos. And like I said, I just didn't think that was going to do the video any justice. Just a static photo for like 5 minutes at a time just didn't sound appealing to me. So I contacted the Lisbon, New Hampshire town hall offices, the town clerks, to see if they can help me out, maybe send me a few photos to help me out with it. I would go in and just take photographs, but I don't want them to think I'm a weirdo. So yeah, anyway, so that's where I'm going to end it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll have something ready for next week, and probably the Lisbon Town Hall video. All right, have a good one. Thank you so much for watching this. I completely appreciate it. I do have a link to the Scared Sheetless website, or Blogspot, I should say. And, if you have any suggestions or anything like that for videos you'd like for me to do, just leave a comment below. And please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. All right, folks, take care and keep it scary. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Scared Sheetless. Today I'm going to be talking about the Lisbon Town Hall, located in my hometown for the past 31 years, Lisbon, New Hampshire. A very small town of just, according to Wikipedia, 1,621 people. This is according to a 2020 census. That's funny. In my article I'm going to be reading from, this is from a census conducted in 2000. There was 1,587. Ooh, a big surge of a population there in the past 20 years. So this article I'm going to be reading today, which I wrote back, it was published on February 6, 2009. So let's get to it, shall we? Okay. Our story takes place in the center icon of the town of Lisbon, the Town Hall. The Town Hall began construction in 1901 after its predecessor, that was located on Main Street, was destroyed in a tragic fire of 1901. In 1902, the building was near completion and ready to be used. The Town Hall at one time even had a balcony, which altogether included the 700 seated below, could fit a grand total of 850 people. However, the balcony, which was also called the Golden Horseshoe, was eventually torn down in the 1950s, so it could be easier for those to play basketball. If you go to the town clerk's office and look to your right, on the Town Hall, where there will be a picture of the balcony. Of course, when I was there asking questions about the Town Hall and also getting information of a paranormal investigation that took place there, I found myself observing the picture to see if I could see someone sitting up in the balcony. But nobody was in the picture, or that was visible to the eye at least. Ooh, spooky. I probably, just to interrupt my own article, if I published this in 2009, I probably did my investigating, quote-unquote, around the same time. It's been a while since 2009, so maybe that picture's been moved, but yeah. Let's get back to it. I've heard for about 10 years that the Lisbon Town Hall is one of the biggest haunted hotspots in the local area. I forget who told me the story first. I swear at the age of 20, I already have dementia. Buddy, I'm 14 years older now, and trust me, it gets worse past me. The original story of the cause of the haunted has now been deemed as false. But for those who didn't know the original story, here it is. One night, a worker in the 1950s hung himself off the staircase, and the rest, you could say, was a haunted history. But when I went to the town hall to further investigate this myth, nobody, not even the town clerk Charlotte, even knew about it, and she's been working there for 42 years. So like I said, the story is untrue. However, she did tell me that when she first started working there, she had the night shift and would hear someone walking down or up the steps when she was the only person in the building. The ghost does like to keep everyone on their toes, though, especially the police who are located on the ground level of the town hall said that they could hear footsteps on the stairs above, and upon further investigation, they were the only ones there. There's also been other occurrences as well, such as during a third grade play, a girl saw a man sitting on the stairs, and when she asked her parents who that was, they saw nobody there, but the girl still could. Did the girl really see a spirit, or was it just those overreactive imaginations that kids tend to have? Who knows for sure? Finally, an investigation was called in, and the Northeastern Paranormal Investigators were the ones called. And on October 25th, 2008, how coincidental, 6 days before Halloween, the answers were finally going to be answered. I had the privilege of having a on-the-phone conversation with both NEPI co-founders Nancy Fortune and Tony Artolino about the case. They said they thought the case was a success, even though that the weather and the age of the building definitely played some factors in the investigation. The building is well over 100 years old, so of course it's going to creak and settle. But as Nancy said, that anyone could tell the difference between a house settling and human footsteps. Also, during one point of the investigation, they were upstairs, Nancy and another NEPI team member. Suddenly, they heard someone walking up the stairs at them. Keep in mind, nobody was downstairs. If that doesn't cause goosebumps or ghost bumps, I thought that was funny, then I don't know what will. Also, they brought motion detectors with them, and that also went off when there was nobody there. NEPI had a raffle and a meet and greet before the investigation went on, where two lucky winners, one male and one female, got to go on the investigation with them. According to Totally, they both saw a gray figure or a shadow. Now, when one person sees it and nobody else does, then of course anyone's going to be skeptical. But when two people see it, the chances of it being false just about goes out the window. NEPI hopes to do a second investigation of the town hall at one point. Spoiler, it's been 14 years, well, actually more than 14 years now, and I joined them later that year, 2009. We never did, which is too bad. Hopefully we do, so that way I can do a follow-up to this article. Better late than never, right? Okay, before I end this column, or video, I should say, I would like to thank Nancy and Tony for their time to explain how the investigation went. I have a feeling you'll be seeing a lot more of the NEPI crew in my future columns. That is an underestimate, my friend. They become a pretty prominent part in future articles. And then their website is no longer active. And actually, NEPI is kind of inactive right now, too. But yeah, that's the end of the article. A quickie there. Just a quick video. I do apologize for if you can hear the fan in the background. It is hot in New Hampshire today. I don't have the... Nope, wrong town. 65. Okay, yeah, that's not hot, but I know some southern folks who may watch this or probably not, and they're probably like, oh, that's hot to you? Yes, it is. We New Hampshireites like our cold, except for during the winter time, we get kind of sick of it pretty quick then. But yes, I see the town hall all the time. You'll see some pictures of it in this video. Not sure which one you'll be seeing right now, but I actually have some family history with the town hall. My grandfather, Richard, actually I have two grandfathers named Richard, so that's kind of hard, but the one with my last name, Parody, he actually painted the town hall, and he used to hang out with the sheriff there. They used to play cards, I believe, poker, most likely, or blackjack. I believe it was in the basement. I mean, my grandfather has passed away, so I can't verify with him. But yeah, he painted it once or twice. I don't know how many times, and hung out there. So yeah, so I have some family history there. Pretty good sized building. The gymnasium is probably the biggest part in there. But yeah. The fire station used to be there too, but that was recently moved. Uh, Other than that, I didn't really haven't really gotten too much feedback on there being much hauntings in there, but yeah, from what I could gather, there's definitely activity there. But yeah, oh, and I meant to mention that Charlotte did work there for quite a while after I wrote this article, but she has since retired. I don't know much else, because she was probably in her 70s or 80s when she retired. That was about, I don't know, 5 to 8 years ago, maybe, when she retired. Very nice lady. And I thank her for help. She was a huge help when I was writing this article. She gave me a book to tell me the history about the town hall in Lisbon itself. She also gave me Nancy and Anthony's numbers so I could get a hold of them. Or actually, I think I may have emailed them on their website. I think she told me about the website. Yeah, so yeah, hey, if it wasn't for Charlotte, I would have never would have gotten hooked up with Neppy and had some fun with investigating with them. So yeah, so thank you, Charlotte. I'm pretty sure you'll probably never see this, but thank you all the same. So yeah, this article was pretty special to me because, like I said, it was my introductory to one of my local haunts. Bethlehem is a town over for actually 2 towns over for me. Still local, but Lisbon's my hometown, so pretty cool to know that there's a couple local haunts here. But yeah, anyway, I'm terrible at ending these, so we're gonna call it there. Wow, 11 minutes. Okay. But yeah, in the description below, I do have a link to the article. I do have to rewrite a lot of it because as I was reading it, as I was going through it, I was like, oh my god, man. Yeah, I gotta redo this a little bit, but I made sure to make it at least make sense when I was talking on here. So yeah, a link to the article I just read will be in the description, as well as a link to Scared Sheetless. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. And oh god, take a drink, damn it. And keep it scary. I'll have a new article, new video, I should say. God, switching from articles to doing videos has been quite the trip. But anyway, see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I am also open to suggestions for other haunted places, not just located in New Hampshire. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving a like, comment, and subscribing for more Scared Sheetless content. Have a good one, and keep it scary. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Scared Sheetless.
With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let the show begin.
When you think of hotels, you may think of suites, a free breakfast, maybe even an indoor pool. From someone who's worked in hotels for a few years, that's commonplace, but some hotels come with extra amenities. Take the Mount Washington Hotel, for example. Beautiful on the inside as well as out. A hotel rich in history, as well as those who've called it home for a few days in life and forever in death. This is the story of the Mount Washington Hotel, where most guests have checked out, but not all. Our story takes place in the beautiful scenery of Carroll, New Hampshire. Joseph Stickney, born on May 31st, 1840, in Concord, New Hampshire, collected a vast amount of wealth by investing in coal mining and was rich by the time he was only 30. In 1881, Joseph, along with business partner John Cunningham, purchased the Mount Pleasant Hotel, which has since been torn down and a motel currently resides in its former place. Stickney had a vision, and that vision was very close by, only across the street where his grand contribution to New Hampshire will be. Due to Stickney's hard work and dedication of giving his guests the best hotel experience he can, he made Mount Pleasant a success. In 1894, he would buy out his business partners and become the lone owner of Mount Pleasant. However, Stickney had a vision, a grander revelation of what he could do if he could build a hotel from scratch. And that vision was very close by, only across the street from the Mount Pleasant. This plot of land would be where his grand contribution to New Hampshire will be. His legacy was just within arm's reach. Work began in 1901 and was designed by architect Charles Alig Gifford to look like a Spanish Renaissance revival. The future New Hampshire icon would cost $1.7 million and was completed in 1902. Joseph's wife, Caroline Foster Stickney, fell in love with the new hotel. Unfortunately, their time spent in the hotel together would be short, because only 1 year after completion, Joseph would die on December 21st, 1903, at the age of 63. Carolyn was heartbroken over the passing of Joseph, but would soon remarry to a French nobleman. I'm not even gonna bother, so I'm gonna let Google Translate help me out here.
Amon de Faucety Loosing.
She married the prince in 1913. Almond owned hotels in Switzerland and France. They would spend their summers in New Hampshire and winters in Paris. He would also help Caroline run the Mount Washington as well. Carolyn would soon have to grieve for the death of another husband. Prince Almond would die on August 1st, 1922, in France at the age of 60. Carolyn moved back to the place she loved the most, her prized possession, the Mount Washington Hotel. She would continue running the Mount Washington Hotel and spending time there until her death at the age of 69 on November 2nd, 1936. Her nephew, Foster Rounds, took ownership of the Mount Washington upon her death. Carolyn is buried in the Stickney Mausoleum next to her first husband, Joseph, at Old North Cemetery in Concord, New Hampshire. Due to her being married to a prince, she was nicknamed the Princess of Mount Washington. And even though she died in Rhode Island, some say her spirit currently resides in her home sweet home at the hotel. She may be watching over the many new faces who inhabited her former hotel every year. Some eyewitnesses have stayed at the hotel, and you can even see a woman that's description strikingly resembles Carolyn, watching over everyone from the balcony. Some have reported hearing a romantic but ghostly melody from the depths of the hotel. In the tower suites, television channels will switch and tubs will run by themselves. Scents of perfumes and strange lights can also be seen within the hotel. Carolyn can be seen in room 314, nicknamed the Princess Room. Her personal quarters when she was in the hotel. She can be seen sitting on the edge of the bed that she shared with her husband, Joseph, brushing her hair. In 2015, a staff photo was taken, and some people say you can see a lady in a Victorian-era dress in the window of one of the rooms. Strangely enough, the window is directly below room 314. Is it the princess joining the photo? You be the judge. Other ghostly sights and sounds are a baby can be heard crying in the ballroom, photographs get mysteriously slashed by unseen fingernails, a woman can be seen walking through walls, and if you're not of the ghostly kind and don't like to be spooked, guests have said to watch out for rooms 206, 217, 237, 425, and of course the princess's room, room 314. All of this has led to the higher-ups of the Mount Washington Hotel telling their workers not to tell ghost stories to the guests, but they do hint at them that some strange activity does go on. Question is, who could be haunting the hotel when neither Joseph Stickney nor the princess died even remotely close to the hotel? Records show that some other guests have checked in, but never checked out, such as Daniel Willis James. A wealthy metal merchant from New York had his last stay at the hotel, died at the age of 75 on September 13, 1907, due to a heart attack. Almost 10 years later, right on date, a guest by the name of Alfred Ed Beetlestead died at the age of 69 due to intestinal hemorrhages. The hotel played host to many famous individuals, such as suspense's psychological thriller filmmaker Alfred Hitchcock, best known for the 1960 thriller Psycho, inventor and businessman Thomas Edison, and Major League Baseball legend Babe Ruth have all stayed at the Mount Washington Hotel. For you gamers out there, the Mount Washington Hotel is mentioned in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Rift Cluster 3, which is basically unlocking secrets in the game, secret files, stuff like that. I remember playing this and feeling excited about New Hampshire playing a role in Assassin's Creed lore. Of course, it's not uplifting, as it was actually a secret meeting for the game's antagonist, the Templars. Yeah, oh well. At least New Hampshire gets some type of strange love, I guess. But anyway, on February 6, 2008, the popular sci-fi network show Ghost Hunters visited the hotel for a paranormal investigation. The results were astounding, to say the least.
Princess, can you at least let us know you're in here? Can you say something? Can you say something?
You know, I heard that what Melanie is. It just does not surprise me.
For those of you who want to stay in one of New Hampshire's most beautiful hotels, then yes, the Mount Washington Hotel is a great destination for you. But if you're looking for a surprise or two around the corner, maybe don't mind sharing your room with a spirit or two, but this is definitely the place for you. The Princess of the Mount Washington Hotel will be eagerly awaiting for your arrival, and perhaps watching you from the balcony. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I am also open to suggestions for other haunted places, not just located in New Hampshire. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribing for more Scared Sheetless content. Have a good one and keep it scary. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Scared Sheetless.
With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let the show begin.
Not every ghost story's origins takes place in a haunted house. In fact, one of New Hampshire's most famous spiritual tales starts out at sea. While North Carolina may have Blackbeard, we have Mary Wallace, soon to be known in legend as Ocean-born Mary. But keep this in mind as a disclaimer, because it will be important later. There is a catch to this story. I first heard about the legend of Ocean-born Mary in Haunted New Hampshire, a book by Thomas D. Agostino. Most of the information in this video is from his book. But there is some information I gathered from other resources, and I will have those listed in the description below. Let's begin. Our story takes place on July 17th, 1720, as we set out to sea. A ship by the name of the Wolf is heading towards its destination, which is Boston, Massachusetts. James and Elizabeth Wilson are setting sail to the New World, the United States of America. And within the U.S. was where their new land was, their new home in Heineken, New Hampshire. Elizabeth was pregnant, and as the coast of Massachusetts came into view, Elizabeth gave birth. The newborn didn't have a name, though. She was just born, after all. This was about to change as the Wolf was taken hostage by pirates. Their leader, Don Pedro, a ruthless, dark, and, well, handsome pirate, got wind that there was a baby on board as Pedro went over to Elizabeth and James. The pirate who took them hostage asked them what the baby's name was. As Elizabeth said, she was just born. There was no name yet. Pedro's demeanor changed from an intimidating pirate to a more kinder approach, and asked if she could name the newborn after his mother Mary. The Wilsons agreed, but Don had one more request before he came back, with gifts for the newborn. He presented Elizabeth with a silk dress and asked when Mary is to wed. He wishes she would wear this dress that he just gave him. Elizabeth told him she would make sure of it. I mean, what you gotta do? Are you gonna lie to a guy who's taking you hostage? Probably not. Probably not a good idea. Pedro left with nobody harmed and everybody's possessions returned. Sadly, it didn't take long after they landed safely in Boston that James died. Nonetheless, Mary grew up to be a tall, records show her at a 6'2", and a beautiful woman. In 1742, Mary got married to Thomas Wallace. Mary honored Don Pedro's wishes by wearing the silk dress at her wedding. Mary and Thomas had 4 sons and a daughter. After the birth of the youngest, Thomas died. As of that time, Don Pedro was retired from his pirate days and decided to settle down in Heineken, New Hampshire himself. Long forgotten about ocean-born Mary, he decided to go and see what she made herself into. Feeling troubled about her being widowed, he begged her to be his housekeeper and promised to take care of her and her 4 children. Mary obliged, and Don Pedro was a man of his word. Don brought Mary and her children to his grand mansion on 6,000 acres of land. Mary and her children couldn't be happier as they lived in solace for a while. Don, however, being a pirate, had a curse, it seemed, and that curse was about to catch up to him. One night after Mary and her children went to bed, former chums of Don Pedro decided to pay a visit. Sadly, Don was about to come to realize that his babies were not what they seemed. They killed Don by using a pirate's cutlass in the front yard of his home. His former mates must have ran, because once Mary got to his room where Don laid with a cutlass hanging out of his chest, the men were already gone. Don, with his final breaths, told Mary to bury his treasure under the hearth with him. Mary, a while before this tragedy happened, saw Don with a retired pirate, a friend of his, carrying a large black trunk out to the orchard. Mary honored Don's request to bury the treasure under the hearth along with Pedro. Mary lived a long and wonderful life right after that. She died in 1814. She only left in body, though, as some say her spirit remains in the house that her and Don Pedro shared. In the early 20th century, the house was open to the general public, and ocean-born Mary made her presence well known after that. A rocking chair would sway swiftly back and forth. Many said that this was Mary's own way of saying the visitors were welcomed. She has also been sensed near the hearth, as legend says she was always there. maybe making sure Pedro still had his prized treasure. Also, Hans Holzer, known for his book Ghosts of New England, which also has a chapter on Oceanborn Mary, Mr. Holzer conducted a seance in the Heinecker home. Here is what Mr. Holzer had to say about the spirit of Oceanborn Mary. This is a clip from the Travel Channel show, The Holzer Files.
Mary has eluded us for the moment, but we'll try once more. Perhaps Mary likes being a ghost. One of these days, perhaps, news will be made at Oceanborn Mary's house.
Some Henniker residents have said that on every Halloween night, Mary's ghost can be seen coming out of the Henniker Center Cemetery, riding a horse-drawn coach, heading for her home. According to some eyewitnesses who have seen her ghost, they have said they see a beautiful woman who is tall with red hair and green eyes watching over them. However, fellow graveyard disciples, remember that catch I was talking about earlier in this video? Basically the beginning. Here is where the catch is, and I hate to disappoint you, but most of this story is fabricated. A lie. We've been... Well, I'll let this sound clip explain things a little bit better than I could.
It was a ruse, a ploy, a plot, a plan, a charade, a conspiracy, a sham. We've been conned, hoodwinked, bamboozled, flim-flammed, and the wool pulled over our eyes even.
Yeah, kind of a letdown, huh? A lot of it was a lie, but was all of it? No. Let's get to where this story goes from truth to fiction. The last truthful part of this story happens all the way back to where Mary's husband, Thomas, dies. After that, it's all fictional from here. Here's the truth. After Thomas died, Mary went to Rhode Island and stayed there until her death on February 13th, 1814, at the age of 93. She lived quite the life. Her story ends in Rhode Island, but her body was buried in Henniker. But what about the Oceanborn Mary house? Why is it called that? The Oceanborn Mary house, the one I've been showing, is not her house. It did have connections to her. It was built by her son Robert, who lived there, but Mary never did. I read some articles about this story that said her and Robert didn't like each other, but most reports say she lived out the rest of her 20 years of life in Rhode Island. Wait, you're thinking, 20 years? I thought she was young when Thomas died. I'll get to that in a moment. There's even a few things I read where it said they actually moved Mary's childhood home from Henniker, New Hampshire, to Rhode Island for reasons unknown. Does she have ties to Henniker? Yes, but not to the house that claims her spirit resides, not to the Oceanborn Mary house either. Hans Holzer, as well as other paranormalists, may have thought they contacted Mary Wallace, but they're all looking in the wrong house. Reports say Mary was haunting her home in Rhode Island, but that home was burned to the ground in the 1920s and they never rebuilt it. But some say that the house that inhabits the location now may have the actual spirit of Oceanborn Mary there. Who knows for sure? So yes, this means Don Pedro never came back, and Don and Mary did live happily ever after in Henniker. That also means there was no treasure, no pirate buried underneath a hearth, or anything like that. Like I said, after Thomas died, that's where the story turns to fiction. I just went over what actually happened with Mary Wallace. But who fabricated this story? Who created this legend that some people still willingly buy as truth, even though the evidence to contradict it is out in the open? I showed his picture earlier. This guy, Louis Roy. He was a photographer by trade and a legend fabricator as a side job, it seemed. He purchased the Oceanborn Mary house in 1917, heard of the story of Robert's mother, Mary Wallace, and from there created the story of Don Pedro returned to Mary after she had grown up and took care of her and her kids at his big mansion that he built. No, Mary's son Robert built the house, and Roy just spun the rest of Mary's tale, going from where Thomas died. He made it seem like Thomas died when Mary was still young, but Mary and Thomas actually weren't together for almost 50 years. Me and Mary was in her early 70s when Thomas died. So, yeah, when Thomas died, she wasn't this, tall, beautiful redhead with green eyes. She was quite old by this time. From here, she would have moved in with her son William to Rhode Island, but people bought Roy's story as fact for a long time. Roy had his mother, the one you've been seeing in these photographs I've been showing, reenacted older Mary's life in a supposed pirate house where treasure were hidden. He would also sell tickets to people to dig up his property, looking for the lost treasure. I'm willing to bet nobody ever found anything but fool's gold. Roy would keep this story going up until his death in 1965. Some reports say he confessed to the fabrication on his deathbed. When I found out that this story was fake, I was disappointed. I mean, New Hampshire has other great ghost legends and haunted locations that should be on every paranormal investigator's list. But the Oceanborn Mary story seemed like something out of a fantasy book, which made it even cooler. But it really was fantasy in the end. Even if most of it is made up, Mary Wallace did have an exciting origin story where a ruthless pirate had a change of heart. But that's the end of the Oceanborn Mary tale. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as you will see in the description, I do have links to basically the article which I wrote and I've been reading for this. Even though I've been stumbling over my words, I'm sorry, folks. If I'm talking freely like I am right now, I usually do pretty good with not stuttering, but for some odd reason when I read, I tend to trip over my words and stuff like that. So, I don't know, but I can't free roam this or whatever you want to call it because I would be going off at different tangents. I'd be forgetting. It wouldn't be linear. So that's why I write a script, because otherwise I wouldn't be linear with this stuff. And to the folks of Henniker, New Hampshire, I'm sorry I've been butchering the pronunciation of pronunciation, I should say, of your town. I swear I'm New Hampshire born and raised, but for some odd reason, I don't know, my tongue just doesn't want to say the word, just doesn't want to say it right. Maybe I am, I don't know. But anyway, keep it scary, folks, and I'll see you next week.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Today's photo comes from the Facebook group Haunted, Old and Beautiful by Amanda APS. This group is not the original poster of this unsettling photo you're about to see. The backstory of the photo is that a group of friends got together in October to have a good time along with a few drinks. To commemorate the fun they had, the 7 ladies took a group photo, and upon looking at the photo, they spotted something that terrified them. Behind them is the pale figure of a disembodied head, and you can make out the features of eyes, nose, and mouth. The owner of the flat, named Rebecca, has been having trouble sleeping since the photo was taken. She had heard rumors that a former tenant died in the bath of the very same flat the photo was taken. A lot of commenters on this post nicknamed the spooky figure the Grinch. Some people have debunked this as just a curious bystander looking through the window, and if that was the case, this person would either be standing on something or is very tall to tower over the ladies in this photo. Some people have speculated that the photo was a hoax and someone was wearing or holding up a mask. What do you think? Comment below. If you think you have a photo of a spirit, then please send it to scaredsheetlessncn@hotmail.com, and I may feature it in a future video. Also, if you would be so kind to leave a like and subscribe for future Scared Sheetless content. Keep it scary, Graveyard Disciples. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Scared Sheetless.
With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let the show begin.
One of the most interesting ghost stories I've ever read comes from a place us New Hampshireites, all know well, and that is Franconia. Back around 1850 is when settlers came to Franconia Notch and discovered copper. Soon copper mines were a big deal in this area, a new way of making a living. And this new town became a great settlement to come to, but the Native Americans didn't agree with the new additions to their land. Of course, this was because the new settlers were on native sacred land. As time progressed and the copper mine town began to lay the foundation to make a potentially great place to live, it was plagued from the start with problems that could only be explained as abnormal. Buildings would be erected, but the roof would be missing the next day. Excavated grounds were filled in a day after like it wasn't even touched. And even the equipment ceased to work like some force was making it stop. Finally, a local pastor noticed a native and asked him what was going on. He was told that they were building their new town on sacred land, and the spirits were warning them not to proceed. The native that the pastor was talking to was sent to try and make peace and have a petition signed to move the town a few hundred yards away, or tragedy would happen to the town. They didn't listen, and no compromise was reached between the settlers or the natives. Soon it became a thriving town of 200 people, but the strange occurrences were felt throughout. Strangely enough, nothing strange happened to the church, and it was left unscathed by these abnormal forces. Through much warning and signs, the natives could not convince the new community to move and show respect for their ancestors, but the town rejected the myth of terror as fairy tale. Soon the natives left, and the townspeople thought they won. They would soon find out they were wrong. In August of 1859, a great red sky came over the town. Thunder shook the earth beneath their feet, and the wrath of the great spirits took over the small town. Witnesses watched as a cloud formed into a great big hand and smashed down onto the small town. And then, all was quiet again, and the sky turned blue. But other townspeople from other communities were not prepared for what was to be seen. The copper mine collapsed, killing every man working inside. Even stranger, no one was around or found in the town. Smoke was still coming out of chimneys, half-eaten food was still on the table, but the only building that was left unharmed was the church, where the pastor tried to get the townspeople in the community to move. The mining company wanted to reopen the copper mine, but no individual dared to mock the same fate that happened to the ones before. So the town never resurrected, and thus the buildings crumbled to the ground, and all that is left is cellar holes and foundations of this once thriving town in the Franconia area. Well, alright folks, that is the end of this video. References for this video come from, once again, like last week, Thomas D. Agostino's book, Haunted New Hampshire. Unfortunately, I couldn't use actual footage or pictures of this town because, well, none of it exists. I'm not sure if this is another Oceanborn Mary hoax or what, but when I tried doing research on this video, I couldn't find anything aside from two things. One was Thomas D. Agostino's book, and the other was the article I did for this story 10 years ago, which was the script I used for this video. During the video, I used clips and pictures of the town of Livermore, New Hampshire, which is an actual ghost town around the same radius this supposed town is in the story. I also compared stories of other ghost towns in the area, and not even gave a hint of this town's demise, so I had nothing to go by aside from D. Agostino's book and my article, so I apologize for no pictures or video of this town. I think this story was made up to scare the kids or something. Otherwise, there would be concrete proof that this place actually exists, but unfortunately, there's just none out there. Aside from that, I still think it's a fun story, I think at least, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, Graveyard Disciples, this has been another Scared Sheetless. Keep it scary. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Scared Sheetless.
With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let the show begin.
A few weeks ago, you'd probably recall I did a video on the Lisbon Town Hall, where I had the privilege of speaking with Anthony and Nancy about their investigation there. After I spoke to them, we started talking more about the possibility of joining their team, Northeastern Paranormal Investigations, or NEPI for short. I was excited at the possibility to investigate a ghost and doing something like this.
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
Nope.
Oh, how ignorant I was in my youth. Due to the fact that this house has since been sold to new owners, I will not tell the address or give much of a description of this home to protect the privacy of the current owners. Plus, the previous owners, the ones who owned the place when we did the investigation, did not want their names released either. I will share some photos from the investigation and some videos that shouldn't give too much away. All I can say is that the house is located in West Danville, Vermont. But that is all I can give you. As for the hauntings of this home, we were told that there are 2 benches in the kitchen that were hot to the touch, despite there being no heat sources near them, as well as the floor being wet for no reason. It wasn't raining outside, nobody was watching anything, so they couldn't track any water in, nor were there any leaky pipes or anything of that sort. Also, I should mention that the home did belong to a medium at one point, who went by the name Haiti. After the introductions and the clients telling us about their experiences, they left the house and had a fire outside to give us privacy to conduct our investigation. This is commonplace, and trust me, we do appreciate it, because there have been times where the clients would stay, and it would sometimes be, to put it bluntly, a pain in the ass, especially when there are kids or the clients were crazy. Yes, I'll get to those fun ones in later videos. Be looking for that. Also, the unpleasant clients who were rude and rather aggressive when we didn't find evidence, and they assumed that we didn't believe them. Anyway, I'm rambling. During an EVP session, Anthony did feel someone touch him, and like true professionals should, he did check his surroundings and nothing was near him. But he did feel like something did touch him. A few minutes after this, something touched the back of my ankle, which is a little low. Maybe they have a ghost cat, or my senses were running wild, wanting something, anything to happen. That first investigation excitement may have gotten the best of me, but who knows for sure. At another point, Anthony said he saw a white figure poking its head around a doorway before ducking its head back inside. Anthony went to investigate and found nothing there. Moments later, Nikki, Anthony's wife and co-investigator, said she saw a figure behind me and snapped a photo. However, nothing showed up in the photo. It is rather creepy that something or someone was seen in back of me, only to vanish moments later. After comes the fun part, where we have to cycle through and listen to or watch everything we recorded, analyze every picture we took. Here is our findings for this house. Now, I am calling on to you, Graveyard Disciples, to help Anthony and I out with these EVPs, because we both listened to them and can't figure out what is being said. All we know is it's not any of us, and we were the only ones in the home, and the clients stayed out the entire investigation. So I'm going to play these EVPs, and then you can tell me what you think they might be saying. Who knows, maybe NEPI is wrong and it's not spirits at all, but do let us know what you think. We welcome any ideas, even if it's contradicted to what we're saying. Have a listen. Let's listen to that again. I think I hear help me. Yes, how original, but that's what I hear. But everyone's different. What about you? This next one's a little bit more tough. I cannot make out anything that whatever this is saying. But maybe someone with a keener hearing can probably help us out here. So what do you think? And I will replay it a little bit louder. All right, here we go.
When you call that user, which is straight on the mouth,
Okay, now this one's tough. I cannot make out anything of it. The first one's turned up to 150%, and I went up to 200%, and I still can't make out what this is saying. I believe it's Nancy talking in this, but I can't hear like any. I may be able to hear some whispering in it, but I'm not sure. But let me know what you think.
when you call that user, which is straight on the mouth, when you call that user, which is straight on the mouth,
The next couple videos I'm going to show are Nancy doing a pendulum session and Phyllis using the dowsing rods. These two things are used to try and contact spirits. I do apologize for my poor camera work, and aside from a single flashlight, there's not much light in the video. However, you can see the pendulum and you can also see the dowsing rods. Let's see if anything happens.
Grounded here? Oh. Huh.
Are you buried here? Yeah.
Yeah. Hattie, are you buried on this property?
Are there bodies buried on this property?
Are there any bodies buried on this property? No. Could have been Sandy.
Everybody always wants to know that.
Jim, did you die of a heart attack? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, K2 just went too. So it must have been like, I mean, it was a like instant thing,
Yeah.
which is just the best way.
Ask them if it's better there.
Are you happy where you are, Jim?
Did your mother pass too, you said?
Yeah, I'm asking
What's your mom's name?
Teresa.
Jim, are you with Teresa? Oh, Biggie has to take my fingers.
That's
you miss and your grandkids?
He probably doesn't miss you because he's probably constantly with you or around you, or you know what I'm saying?
It says it, yes, but I mean, he probably misses the fact that he's not with them.
Poke my out.
Jesus, it's doing it so much it keeps hitting against my knuckles.
That's great. Why don't you sit on it and rotate? Ow. Some problems. I think the inner strife within our...
So I know some people are wondering, what about the Grim Reaper? You put it in the thumbnail, and you also put the title, Grim Reaper Caught. Where is it? Well, now we're going to get to it. You know, save the best farce for last. So, no, it's not clickbait. I know a lot of paranormal YouTube channels tend to do this, and yes, I do plan on making a video why I personally don't like paranormal YouTubers doing clickbait, you know, thumbnails. It's just, it irritates me. I understand why, you know, for the clicks and for that sweet monetization, but personally, I just don't like it. But anyway, so this isn't clickbait. I actually did capture this photo. It was taken during the investigation by me, and just for context, when I was younger, I was a hardcore, you can't tell me otherwise, every bump and creak of a house was, you know, was a ghost believer. Basically, I was ignorant towards the paranormal. Nothing wrong with being a staunch believer or a staunch skeptic for that matter, but you do have to keep your feet planted and take a rational approach when investigated. But because of this, I was naive towards things like pareidolia. I hope I'm saying that right. Basically, meaning your brain tries to make sense of patterns it sees, and you start seeing, you know, faces or what have you. For example, if you look at a wooden door, eventually you will see like a face or something. Also, a great example is that toast that looked like it had Christ on it, Jesus Christ on it, Jesus toast. Or if you're looking at the clouds, you will see something like an animal. A good friend and fellow paranormal investigator and current owner of All Things Weird store in New Jersey, cheap plug, Chris Chaos, totally his real name, did a fantastic article on pareidolia, which I'll provide in the description below. Check that out. But with that said, let's get to the photo. Look at it for a little bit. Pause the photo, video if you have to. But I was dead set on thinking I caught a picture of a Grim Reaper looking at me through the window. I swore up and down that I saw the eye holes in the mouth of a skull, wearing a hood, holding his scythe. I posted on Facebook the day I discovered it, frantically saying, "It's the Reaper, dude," and people were like, "Yeah, I can see it too, freaky." And I showed Anthony, and he's like, "Nah, man, that's probably a smudge on the window," and I respected his opinion, although I cursed him under my breath for the next few months. Oh, he's just jealous. I caught the Grim frickin' Reaper, and all he got was some ghost being handsy with him. Hi, Anthony. I know you're watching. But eventually time heals all wounds, and I had to admit that he was more than likely right, and I stopped cursing him under my breath and calling him jealous. So, yes, I don't think that this is the picture of a Grim Reaper, but still, I mean, you can look at it. I mean, I still see it even to this day, but I know that's more than likely like a smudge on the window or something, who knows. But what do the team think? Is this place in Vermont haunted? Anthony would tell me it's a Class C all the way. We got EVPs, things were touching us in a non-preferred way, and shadow figures were seen. At the very least, whatever entity is haunting this place does not seem violent, which is a good thing. But we'll get to the violent ones soon enough, Graveyard Disciples, don't you worry. Okay, so you made this far. Now, last week when I did the teaser, I said the investigation didn't go well for me. How? I'll give you the short list. It was 34 degrees that night, and I showed up wearing nothing but a shirt, shorts, and sandals. Everyone else is bundled up. Speaking of bundled up, when one of my Deppy brothers, or sister in this case, was taking off her sweatshirt, she had me turn around just in case some skin was shown. I turned around conveniently towards the mirror and saw everything like George McFly being a peeping Tom.
He's a peeping Tom.
I mean, she was wearing a bra, but still, she was not amused by the humor of the situation. Also, I think it might have been this investigation where I had this Einstein moment. But when we were in the cellar, there was a fridge there, and I touched the fridge and made the most astute observation ever, and same with confirming intent that the fridge is cold. And I meant it. I don't know why I said it, but I was just like, I touched the fridge. I'm like, the fridge is cold. Anthony just made a grunt sound, and I was well on my way to being the village idiot of Neppy. When asked how I did after this was all said, two of them said, I did okay, but I need some work. Basically sugarcoated things to spare my feelings, while Anthony and Nikki were a little bit more blunt and said, you sucked, kid, but maybe eventually you'll do better. Okay, they probably did say that cruelly, but I got the gist of it. To be fair, I was moving around way too much, and basically, you're supposed to sit still, so that way there's not noise contamination and stuff like that. But hey, I was the rookie at the time. I was the young blood, so the grasshopper, if you will. So I had a lot to learn, and I think I did. But yeah, I was basically yelled at to sit the F down and be quiet. But the strange thing is, it's been almost 15 years, and they still haven't said if I got better or not.
Stay here, that's fine, but you are not to bother anyone, or injure anyone, or interact with anyone if they don't want you to. We're not saying you have to leave, we're just saying you need to behave, or I will come back here.
And let her know that Jim left lots of love here, and it's to stay here.
This is a house of love.
We'll get Jim to kick your astral butt out of this house.
Teresa and they came down, come down too, and
But yes, that was my first investigation, but there's plenty more where that came from. Again, sorry I couldn't use that many images from the investigation, aside from a couple. But I try my best to respect clients' wishes as well as the privacy of the new owners, and that respect goes to everyone's house or businesses we've ever investigated. There are some who were open to me writing about it in the newspapers, but some want the details redacted and it's like kind of like a handshake NDA, Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll write about the investigation, but I'm not gonna give clients' names or where it's located or anything like that, or the address at least. But there is some more details of this investigation that I did not cover in this video. I just felt it wasn't really important or anything like that. So if you want to read that, you can go to my website. Link is down below in the description. Thank you for watching, and keep it scary, Graveyard Disciples, and scare you later.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, Tom.
Yes, it's horrible, this idea.
Hey there, folks. Just a quick introduction before I get to the facts. Normally I say greetings, Graveyard Disciples, to start one of my normal videos off, but this isn't a paranormal video. But Scared Sheetless isn't just about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. No, actually, over Scared Sheetless's 13-year history, as a blog at least, I've done quite a few blog pieces and a few articles on the world's most famous ship, the RMS Titanic. I figured since I'm doing video versions of my blogs, articles, what have you, why not do a couple on the subject I also enjoy talking about, the Titanic. A few months before I started doing Scared Sheetless videos, I had the idea of doing a channel focused on shipwrecks. My idea was to call it The Reckoning, but spelled, W-R-E-C-K, for wreck. I'm not very good at names, but I thought it was, easy to remember at least. Anyway, instead, I'm just going to do that here. You get some paranormal, some macabre, and some shipwrecks. Because shipwrecks are creepy too. People don't like seeing human, man-made objects underwater. So, hey, I think it works out. Now, most of you, I'm sure, who are going to watch this probably know quite a few of these facts, and that's fine. I did these as a way to maybe introduce the Titanic to a new generation of Titaniacs, as we're called, and hopefully keep the interest in Titanic afloat for generations to come. These videos will be just quick facts. I'll leave the more elaborate pieces to the fine folks, such as historic travels or the big move. Anyway, this introduction is actually longer than the facts part, so let's get to why you're here. There are some people who believe that the Titanic and Olympic were secretly switched due to insurance purposes, and the White Star Line greedily cashed in on the tragedy. This has been debunked. And just for, for your information type of deal, Historic Travels did a pretty good piece on that too. I'll try to find it, put the link in the description. The Titanic's original maiden voyage date was supposed to be in March, not April, but plans changed due to Titanic's sister ship, Olympic's collision with the HMS Hawk, but also for another reason that we'll get to in a moment. The Titanic struck the iceberg because of a curse? There was a conspiracy theory going around that the Titanic sank due to an Egyptian curse. The theory goes that the Titanic has some interesting cargo on board aside from domestic animals and a few cars. The mummified remains of Amun-Ra. This has also been debunked. The Titanic's maiden voyage almost didn't happen again due to a huge coal mine strike in 1912, just months before the Titanic's first voyage, and only voyage, let's be honest here. The White Star Line put a halt to all ships and used those ships' coal storage to stock the Titanic so she could set sail on April 10th as scheduled. Speaking of coal from the Titanic, you can actually buy a piece of it online. Do you own a piece of Titanic's coal? Let me know in the comments. The Titanic is no longer owned by the White Star Line, which yes, makes sense for a multitude of reasons, but rather a company that used to be called RMS Titanic Inc., which changed its name to Premier Expeditions. They have auctions and sell items that they got from the ship. Some believe this is a form of grave robbing, while others say it is to preserve the history of the ship, as she is rusting away at an alarming rate. And those people feel we should save as much of the Titanic before she's gone forever. There is a rumor, though it has been proven to be false, that the 1911 version of the Poseidon Adventure was played the night the Titanic struck the iceberg. For those who do not know, this movie is based on another ship disaster. A lot of us are familiar with the 1970s version, as I am. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And because I could find nothing of the 1911 version, I decided to play that version in the background instead. Oh no, several people have had some brilliant ideas about raising the world's most famous ocean liner out from the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. One theory even included filling the ship with ping pong balls. And that was supposed to raise this massive ship. Okay. Rusticles is a term that was coined when the Titanic wreck was discovered by Robert Ballard in 1985. As you can see in the video, rust looks like it's dripping down from the ship that looks like, yes, icicles, hence the word rusticles. Until it was discovered in 1985, it was a popular theory that the ship never split in two. This is evident by earlier Titanic movies such as Titanic, and Night to Remember. would both have the ship sinking intact. This is despite eyewitnesses saying they did see the Titanic split in two. I'm going to show a page from encyclopediatitanica.org, a brilliant source for Titanic information that I've spent hours on for quite a few years now, but they do have a page strictly talking about eyewitness accounts of those who saw the Titanic break. As you will notice when we get to the bottom of the page, a majority of the people did not state or knew if it broke. Some people think so because of the explosions they heard as Titanic was making her final plunge, but most people didn't seem to see it, felt she sank intact, or were simply not asked. These people cannot be blamed because despite what most movies, TV shows, and documentaries making it seem like it was a bright night, it wasn't. The stars were out, but there was no moon. So when the Titanic's lights failed, aside from a few that were dimly lit, it was very dark. This could be why some people who were close to the ship saw it break, while others in lifeboats further away think it sank intact. I'll provide a link to the video where Ocean Liner Designs, a great channel I recently found, did a fantastic job recreating how those in lifeboats in the water would have experienced the breakup and how dark it truly was that night on April 15th. Thank you so much for watching. This video turned out to be longer than expected because my plan is to make these videos run time under 5 minutes. My plan is, and I think it's a good one, is every April 15th compile all the videos I've done on the Titanic for that year and release it in a log version for the anniversary of the sink. And I mean, I can keep this up until the day I no longer want to do Scared Sheetless, so it could be a pretty long ongoing series, and hopefully it is, because I'm sure, much like you, I can't get enough of the Titanic. I just really enjoy talking about it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time on Titanic Facts. I normally say keep it scary, closing out on all my other videos, but this isn't paranormal, so keep it sailing, I guess. We'll just go with take care and hope to see you next time. All right. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Scared
We're not saying you have to leave, we're just saying you need to behave, or I will come back here.
Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of
Let the show begin.
Family History, a subject I've always been fascinated by since I was a kid. Recently, I took advantage of a free month trial of Ancestry.com. Not a plug or an endorsement, by the way. They're not paying me. I only have 10 subscribers, after all. I have found some neat details of my lineage, such as my third great-grandfather being in the Civil War, to my father winning the Dart State Championship in 1993, to him being busted when he was 18. Oh, by the way, my father was the one resisting arrest. He mellowed out quite a bit by the time I met him when I was 18. I have been able to trace my family roots all the way to the 1800s in Ireland, but there is one family member that is a mystery, a ghost himself, and I, as well as some family members, think we might have actually met his spirit. This is a picture of my great-grandfather, James Hesselman. He was born on August 26, 1911, a fact I found out through doing this research. Also, he shares a birthday with his great-granddaughter, my cousin. Here's what we know, or maybe think we know. James, along with his siblings, were born to a Native American family in Brooklyn, New York. For reasons unknown, they were put up for adoption and adopted by John and Ada Hesselman. James would marry a Helen Brown and had 3 kids together, James Jr., Pauline, and Judith. I can only speculate that their relationship was on the rocks around the time Judith was born in 1947, as around this time James was with Emily Daniels. My great-grandmother and their first child, Thomas, was also born in 1947. There's a possibility that they split up before Judith was born, and Helen still had the Hesselman surname. I'm not sure. Emily had a child from a previous relationship who was also named Helen. She was around 7 when James and Emily got together. I've been told that the story that James realized Helen didn't really have much of a wardrobe, so he went out and bought her 10 dresses and a few pairs of shoes. Helen did consider James to be her father, as evident on her marriage certificate I found through Ancestry. James and Emily would eventually have 6 kids together, including my grandmother Janice. James also served as a private in World War II. He was a galley man on the SS Baltimore. He would be discharged after suffering an injury. Interestingly, on his enlistment papers, it does list him as white, but also it says includes Mexican. I spoke to a friend of mine who works with the Cherokee Nation, and she said that this could have been his or the military's way of protecting him, as being Native was considered worse than being black in those days. In other words, there was no indigenous celebratory holidays back in the 1940s, which could also explain that every census I found on James, he was also listed as white. This could have also been to protect his kids as well from, racism and stuff like that. When I was younger, I was into family history and would ask my grandmother about her father. She did confirm he was Cherokee and was taken from his family, but other than that, she didn't know much about him either, despite knowing him for 14 years. My grandmother wasn't really into talking about her past. All she said of her father was he was a nice guy, but that's all she would say. James would eventually die of cancer on December 10th, 1962 in Middletown, Connecticut, seemingly taking his past with him to the grave. However, because I hate stories that ended on a cliffhanger, I'm going to keep trying to find more information on him even after this video is posted on YouTube. But you're here because of my teaser from last week when I said some of us have met him, decades after his death. Let's go to the paranormal side of my great-grandfather's story. I remember being a small child. It was probably my earliest memory, so let's say 4 to maybe 6 years old, give or take a year. I would spend quite a bit of time at my Aunt Helen's house in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. I remember these get-togethers well and fondly, considering a lot of these great people are no longer with us, so you tend to hold on to these memories more to the heart to keep them alive, so to speak. I remember my aunt had a kitchen in the small living room on the other side. I'd been in there watching TV, but watching my family laugh, drink, and play cards. And by drinking, I mean, not soda. But there was always this one guy who seemed to be smiling and laughing the most. He was a darker-skinned gentleman with black hair, and I remember vividly that he would just sit there, listening and enjoying the antics of my family. But he would not be eating, he would not be drinking, he was not playing cards. His side of the table was always empty, but I could see him sitting there. Another strange thing was nobody would reply to him when he said something. Eventually everyone would leave, but I don't remember him leaving. He was just gone. I always found it strange that out of everyone at the table, I remember the details of him the most. Right down to the clothes he was wearing, and Graveyard Disciples, I have a horrible memory. Later in life, I would ask family members who were there, who was the darker-skinned guy with black hair that was always smiling and having a great time. My grandmother would speculate it was my grandfather Richard, who was tanned and also had black hair, but I would say quietly, hoping he wouldn't hear me, "Anna, the This guy was skinny, though. She would then think it was a brother of hers, but he's an estranged brother who would definitely not be invited to any of these family gatherings because, well, he was estranged. He was the estranged one that no one really talked about. I would see a picture of this estranged uncle and go, no, that's not him. Years later, I would see pictures of James and always had this feeling of, I know this guy. I've seen him, and that's when I thought back to that mysterious guy sitting at the table, laughing, having a great time, but nobody would speak to him. It was as if he was a ghost. Feeling somewhat foolish, I never told anyone about this, but then one day I told my mother and she said she had the same experience, but also other family members did too. Right down to the details I experienced, she told me without me even telling her. I asked my mother if James ever stepped foot in that house, and she said yes, but he didn't die there and had a place of his own in Middletown, where he would die. Now, before the skeptics in the crowd roll their eyes very hard, I'm sure, I do understand that kids have overactive imaginations, and there's a possibility that I saw a picture of him when I was, at that age, when I thought I saw him, and just forgot about seeing the picture. But also, there could be a possibility that there was someone there my family is forgetting. They did have a lot of get-togethers, lots of gambling and liquor involved, by the way. There's a possibility that some guests were forgotten through the 8 years. As a self-proclaimed half-assed skeptic, trademark but not really, I am sure there is a logical explanation for this that I will probably never know, because the ones who may know are no longer here. However, the part of me that does want to believe in the paranormal does hope that maybe he does visit with family and meets his great-grandkids and their kids and so forth. If that's the case, I have two family mysteries. One, finding out the history of my great-grandfather, and two, was it his ghost my family and I have seen? Maybe I will, or maybe some family mysteries are not meant to be dug up. Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to the first episode of Scared Shortlist. Terrible name, I know. A new series where there's not many details enough to warrant a full episode, but the scares are good enough for a short video. Today we talk about a place that was part of me and my family's life for almost 2 decades. This is the P&D Quick Stop, a former mom and pop shop in Lisbon, New Hampshire, where you can buy gas, beer, great food made by Jody, and just a friendly place to treat you like you were a friend rather than just a customer. But also, from my experiences and others, maybe a few customers from the other side as well. When my family first opened the store, I did hear from some of the locals that the place was supposedly haunted by a former mechanic who died tragically when the store was a garage. The story goes that the mechanic was working on a car that was on a hydraulic lift when something went wrong with the lift, and it failed, crashing down and crushing the poor mechanic, who unfortunately lost his life. The story was tragic, though it didn't stay on my mind for very long. We had a store to take care of. But soon strange occurrences would start happening, such as products flying off the shelves, a muffin all of a sudden flung off the shelf right next to me when I was stalking one day with enough force to send it straight down the aisle. The windows were sealed shut, so no draft, and the AC was at another section of the building, not even blowing in that direction. So what caused that muffin to be thrown so violently off the shelf? Another incident that happened to me was when I was out back and I saw this strange mist forming a few feet away from me. It actually looked like the shape of a person. When I went to grab my cell phone out of my pocket to record it, I turned back and it was gone. Other employees of the P&D said they had paranormal experiences as well, especially when they thought they were alone. One employee told pretty much everyone this account of seeing the reflection of someone's legs and boots on the cooler windows. She thought this was strange, so she went to check, and when she turned the same corner, no one was there. She looked around the entire store, and the store only had one exit, which was in view everywhere in the store. so she should have been able to see anybody leave. She couldn't find anyone. When she was thinking that maybe she just thought that she saw someone, suddenly one of the cooler doors slammed shut on its own. Needless to say, the experience startled her. I asked a few of the older locals if the story of the mechanic is true, and even though some scoffed at me about the paranormal claims, it was confirmed that the mechanic's story did in fact happen. Is he haunting his former workplace? The offer was always on the table for Neppy to investigate the P&D Quick Stop, but unfortunately in 2021 was its last year of operation, before it was sold to Dewey's, a competitor across the street. It became Little Dewey's. Considered my aunt who owned the store, the owner of Dewey's were competitors who didn't really get along. I doubt anyone related to my aunt will be welcome to do a ghost hunt there anytime soon. However, I wonder if they are going to have the same experience as we did. Thank you for watching, and keep it scary. Waterville Valley is a small town in New Hampshire with a population of only 508 citizens, according to a census conducted in 2020. It has hosted a few famous citizens such as co-authors of the hit children's book Curious George. H.A. Ray and Margaret Ray had a vacation home in Waterville Valley where they would write several books of the Little Chip's adventures. This house is now the tourist attraction, the Curious George Cottage. But the story I'm about to tell you has nothing to do with mischievous Chip. However, it does have to do with a creature that has been reported to lurk around the darkest corners of the White Mountain National Forest. Our story begins with a man who takes his wife and daughter annually on a trip to Waterville Valley's White Mountain National Forest. According to the reports, the only problem the family had was not with the locals, but with the bears, and they are not the friendly ones you find at Clark's Trading Post either. But on one particular trip, there would be something else. Something terrifying. The man reports that when everyone went to sleep, that's usually his time to build a fire. Fires are meant to be enjoyable, relaxing. But not when you start to hear the noises he heard on this night in 2001. The sound wasn't a bear grunt, an owl, or a deer breaking a branch. It was sneaky, as the camper put it. As if someone or something was watching them. Survival instincts taken over, the man was probably fearing for the well-being of his family and himself. He turned his flashlight to the suspected noise. What I saw haunts me even now, the man said in his report to About.com's paranormal section. Something was in the trees, and as he slowly moved the flashlight up to this creature's face, he was startled by what he saw. The creature was gray, naked, very muscular, and hunched down. Its face was wide. If it was to stand, it would be 5, maybe 6 feet tall. Its skin like leather, and its eyes were maybe the freakiest part described by this man. They were big, but even with the light on them, they were black as coal. Another feature was his legs, which were muscular, but looked like they could have been a bird's legs. Whether or not the thing was startled by the flashlight is anyone's guess, as it just looked at the camper. The creature then jumped off the trees and was out of sight. The man went in and woke up his wife, daughter, and a friend who tagged along. They, of course, thought he was crazy. They fell asleep while he decided it was best to sleep in the van. This is normally where I would say, and they never went back and lived happily ever after. But you would be wrong, Graveyard Disciples, because this man and his family did go back. He did the same routine as last year by making a fire and just enjoying the great outdoors like New Hampshire can always provides, I should say. He heard a noise, thinking it was a bear due to a bear problem in the area at that time. He started to make noise, hoping it would go away and scare whatever was making the noise off. But the sound just got closer. He shined his light in the direction of the noise, and there was the creature again. It was around the tree line. He was afraid, but the mind wandered. And the saying, curiosity killed the cat, comes to mind in this next part of the story. He got the crazy idea to actually go over to the creature. He stepped closer to him, making sure not to make any sudden movements that the creature may think is threatening. He got within 20 feet of it, and the creature jumped back and disappeared in the night. The man has stated that he looked forward to going back the next year, which will be 2003, to see the creature again. However, it has been almost 20 years, and I cannot find an update, or even the story. Let's hope for his sake his following trips went without another visit from the creature of Waterville Valley. Nope, Jack, you're not. Although made for a monumental scene in James Cameron's 1997 blockbuster Titanic, in reality, no one aside from the crew were allowed on that section of the bow. Okay, so check this out right here. I found this website called sketchfab.com, and they have 3D models. And one of the models is of our very own Titanic here. So as you can see, Jack and his friend, I forget his name. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie. So yeah, he'd be right here. I'm the king of the world, and stuff like that. So this is why people were allowed, and I'm about to go on top of the Titanic. So yeah, look at this. There is a lot of hazards here that is the reason why they did not let passengers onto the going through it onto the this section of the ship. Because not only that, but you have the big anchor right here, and all these, this crane right here, and the chains especially. You could, they could fall into these crevices, I guess you would call them, right in there. The cargo hatch and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of tripping hazards here that Jack would probably fall into. I don't know, maybe he's not as clumsy as I am, but if they didn't let first class passengers in, they definitely wouldn't let third class passengers in. Of course, what's cut off here is that you also have those two big cranes right here that are on this side right here. But the 3D model doesn't have it. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. One of the key companies that wanted to find the Titanic, the Walt Disney Company and National Geographic magazine, were going to do a joint expedition to find the ship in 1978. Plans changed, though, due to financial limitations. Some crazy theories always go around after a disaster happens. One had to do with the ship's hull number, 390904, which spelled backwards reads, "No Pope." Regarded as fact to those who don't do a quick Google search, but Titanic's hull number was actually 401, which was the same as its yard number at Harland and Wolff. Titanic's board of trade number was 131428, being no hope for those who believe the no pope nonsense. Yes, this actually did happen. In 1943, propaganda was everywhere in Nazi Germany. Fine example is their movie production of the Titanic tragedy. Instead of a true ocean liner disaster story, the Nazis decided to turn it into an anti-British piece about how Britain is greedy, and that's what sank the Titanic and killed 1,500 people. After the war, the film was heavily banned in Western countries, only making sporadic appearances on German television markets. But in 2005, a company finally made a restored and uncensored version of the movie. Sad part is, I bet it's better than that horrid animation flick. Oh boy. Speaking of this movie and not the horrible Italian animation flick I just showed at the end of the last one, the Nazis requisitioned an old ship by the name of Cap Arcona to be used for the exterior shots of the Titanic, completely renovating it to resemble the famous ocean liner. Sadly, this ship's fate met a disaster worse than the Titanic's. A day before World War II ended, British fighter planes fired at and sunk the Arcona with 5,000 concentration camp prisoners inside. Thankfully, not all lost their lives, but unfortunately and sadly, the death toll was estimated to exceed 4,000. Today's photo was found on the Facebook group Universal Paranormal and the Unknown. Link will be in the description. This is not the original photo and the source is not listed. This is what the description says. Not my story. My friend's daughter, who was 13, woke up and took this picture. She was experiencing sleep paralysis at the time, and when she snapped out of it and awoke, she heard a strange noise from across her room and immediately grabbed her cell phone and took a picture of the direction the sound came from. This is what she caught in the photo. You can see clear as day a shadow figure wearing a hat. A lot of the commenters on this photo say they get bad vibes from this figure, with more claiming it to be the Hat Man, a paranormal entity, a part of the shadow figure category. However, some UFOologists claim it's actually an alien observing humans. Those who experience the Hat Man say the figure appears to be a male with a hat. Not much is found on violent poltergeist activity attached to the appearance of the Hat Man, and most say he just stands there and observes you. However, some others who have experienced the Hat Man say he appears during sleep paralysis and that it is seen hovering over the person, just like the 13-year-old who took this photo. Some would say that it could be just a hallucination brought on by drowsiness, or it's just a dream. However, some have said they have seen the Hat Man even during the day. Whatever the case may be, what do you think of this photo? Comment down below.
Saying you have to leave, we're just saying you need to behave, or I will come back here.
Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Let the Show. Bethlehem is a beautiful little town right next to the busy and ever-growing town of Littleton. It has already been featured on my earlier videos with the legend of the Cat House. Where the Cat House is a proven local story, this next location may lay in the same waters such as Oceanborn Mary or Lost City in Franconia. 2 videos I've already done. How's this legend start? Just like every small town in America, Bethlehem is rich in history, scenery, and dark secrets hidden behind a no trespassing sign on a back road. Past this no trespassing sign, you are greeted with a warning, spray painted red as a message, and that message is hell. What is this hell? Much like the Cat House, hell is an abandoned location with a dark past, or so locals have claimed. I can assure you it's not the place mentioned in Dante's Inferno, but the place, as told by some, does have a bloody, dark, traumatizing past. Here's what some believe. The rumor is that the Ku Klux Klan used to take African Americans down a shaft and inside the Bethlehem Dam, or hell as it's now referred to, hanged them and left them for dead. Supposed trespassers have said the hooks are still down there that they used to hang the poor souls with, and the screams of the victims can be heard coming up from the depths underground. I have been to this hell, but not inside of it. Why? Well, I'm clumsy, and do you see all the places I could potentially fall in? Not a good idea. Hell is located on a back road behind a no trespassing sign that is attached to a gate blocking entry. After a little walk, you will stumble upon hell. After hearing of the legend of hell, no sign is going to stop me or my cousin, who accompanied me on my one and only trip to the famed Bethlehem legend when I was about a teenager. Did I hear the voices of the damned screaming out from the darkness below? No. I didn't get any creepy feelings. It's just a concrete husk with spray paint all over the place, and I honestly believe that's it. The tale of hell in Bethlehem is just that, a tale. Something that is not in the books and has meager results on the Googles. You want to know who I heard about hell from? I was a teenager when I first heard about it, and other teenagers told me about it. Aside from teenagers telling ghost stories, I've never heard about it from locals who've lived there for decades and would actually know. You know what I found out about hell by going there? It's an abandoned dam. That's it. It's a damn abandoned dam. I'm just going to chalk this up as just a tale. I know it's kind of a running theme here with Lost City and Franconia and Oceanborn Mary being hoaxes, but this channel is about talking about claims, but also debunking them as well. Again, there is no evidence to prove this story of the KKK using this as a place to torture people. I only heard that from a few teenagers, and apparently the story just spread like a bad game of telephone. If it were true, don't you think it would be mentioned by now? Especially now? Up until very recently, like when I was doing this video recently, I stumbled across a video that piqued my interest. Someone actually explored hell. I won't post the whole thing as that won't be fair to the creator, and you can check out his whole exploration of hell at your own leisure. I will put the link in the description. He actually goes inside hell, and spoiler alert, there are no hooks or nooses or anything of the sort, just graffiti. Lots and lots of graffiti. To close out this video, let's watch this small clip of this gentleman exploring hell in Bethlehem. I hope you enjoy this video and keep it scary.
Saying you have to leave, we're just saying you need to behave, or I will come back here.
Greetings, Graveyard Disciples, and welcome to another edition of Let the Show. When I used to work at my family's store, which was featured in the video Buy Your Haunted Muffins at the P&D Quick Stop, we had a Coke delivery driver who was also into the paranormal. He was more into the alien aspect of it, big fan of Coast to Coast with Art Bell, would go to UFO conventions. That was his cup of tea. But sometimes the people he would meet would also be into ghosts. The guy's name was Dennis Rando, the very man who drew this caricature you see up as my profile picture and at the end of every video. He told me a story about when he went up to a hotel called the Balsams Grand Resort in Dixville Notch, New Hampshire to make a delivery. Looking at the pictures of the Balsams, I can truly see it is a grand hotel. It does look beautiful and a nice place to stay, but according to Dennis as well as many others, the place is spook central. Just a short overview of the history of the hotel before I get going on Dennis' story. The hotel was opened by George Parsons shortly after the Civil War ended and was then known as the Dix House. The Dix house was a 25-room summer inn. In 1895, it was bought by Henry S. Hale from Philadelphia, who was an inventor as well as an industrialist and a longtime visitor of the Dix house. By 1918, Hale's vision for the little inn grew steadily and expanded until what it is today. Before long, the capacity went from 25 to 400 guests when he added the Hampshire house. But what makes the Balsams Hotel such a hotbed for spiritual activity? The Balsams, according to Dennis, is one of the most haunted places he's ever been to, and with good reason. Here are some highlights from what he told me. Toilets flush on their own despite there being no sensors on the toilets. And because of how my mind works, it makes me think spirits go to the bathroom. At least they have the courtesy to flush. A one-armed man who mysteriously disappears, and 3 laughing old ladies who also disappear. Also, when Dennis told the maintenance man of these happenings, he motioned Dennis to come along with him down to the basement of the Grand Resort. The resort's basement is filled with pipes, which is normal, but what is not normal is that there are people buried in the basement of the Balsams. Needless to say, Dennis probably got out of there quick. Dennis has been back to the resort and has actually slept there at one occasion and claimed it was one of the most restful nights he's ever had. But as I went deeper into my research, I found a few more intriguing guests who have never checked out the Balsams. You'd be thinking that just like the Mount Washington Hotel swears the staff to secrecy about not telling guests about the spiritual activity, the Balsams actually embraces its ghostly guest of the dead. According to the book Weird Hauntings, True Tales of Ghostly Places, in a chapter written by Joseph A. Citro, he said that when he talked to the president of the hotel, Stephen P. Barba, he was surprised to hear that Mr. Barba has actually documented the ghostly appearances since 1959. According to Mr. Barba, the spiritual activity came to an uprising when they did renovations at the Balsams. He also claims that he does not discourage staff members to talk about the spirits. Now, not all of the staff are as welcome to the idea of spirits as others, as there is actually a bellhop who will not, under any circumstances, go up to the 3rd floor. The legend of the vanishing beauty at the Balsam starts with how a doorman was handed up to a room. Upon getting halfway up the set of stairs, he looked up and saw a beautiful woman sitting in a chair just beyond the landing. At first, he thought it was just a guest, but taking into consideration the hour, which was midnight, and her clothing, he wasn't seeing just a former guest. He was seeing a ghost. Let's just say the doorman showed himself out after seeing this, but upon looking back, the beautiful woman had vanished. The vanishing beauty has been seen more than just once. She has also been seen, or rather heard, in the John Dick's social parlor laughing. When guests try to look for her, they are confused to find nothing. One man, however, had the same encounter but with a different ending. When this man went to look for her, he passed a mirror, seeing a beautiful woman's delightful figure reflected off of it. When he turned to where the reflection should be coming from, he is met by the scary sensation of him being alone. The vanishing beauty is no stranger and has been seen sitting in chairs, being in the shadows of the hotel, and has even been spotted in the main lobby. But the question is, who is this woman? What was her purpose at the hotel? Why is her soul confined to the property? Is she stuck, or does she just really enjoy the hotel service? Those questions will probably never be answered. Another guest, though his name is not something I want to be plugged with once I am spotted as a ghost. The legend of the Naked Man, according to Mr. Citro's story in his book, is that one night a couple were staying in room 120. The wife was awoken to a man standing right at the foot of her bed. Thinking it was her husband, she asked if he was okay. The response was not what she was expecting, as it was not her husband standing at the end of the bed. It was a naked man. She was also astonished to find out that the man was translucent. She could see right through him. Before the figure disappeared, the husband had woken up to the scary sight before the figure vanished. Other occurrences in this room are sounds of things being moved and talking coming from the room even if there is nobody in there. Who is the naked man? I'm okay with not finding out, but hey, if you want to, that's your cup of tea. If you must know, there are two possible theories as to who the naked man might be. One theory is that band leaders used to frequent room 120. A second theory is when a band leader drowned in Lake Gloriette, which is on the resort's property. The third ghostly figures are simply known as Though you may think that there is some horror in human spirit which presides at the Balsams due to the name, that is not the case. The name is only due to the fact that the employees who had seen the others cannot distinguish what or who these entities may be. The others have been spotted in the direction of the sunroom. Before the employees can mention the apparition to their peers, the figure disappears. Most employees have said that they think the figure is a male. When some of the employees pass the captain's study heading towards the sunroom, they are overtaken by a cold sensation. What is it, bad wiring, or is the world of the supernatural and the world of the living both the same? A crossroads between the living and the dead may be located at the Balsams. Even though the Balsams is not considered in the same legendary status as the Mount Washington Hotel, it is still a worthy candidate for the most haunted place in New Hampshire. Shortly after publishing the article in 2010, I received an email from a former employee who worked as a night steward at the Balsams. It was a pretty long email, but he had some interesting information that Dennis didn't know. I have left some things he said out of the original email because it would just be me repeating stuff I've already talked about. But you can read the full email on my blog. Link is in the description. Here's what he had to say, and I will be doing the narration of what he said. So here we go. I used to work there as a night steward. I have seen none of these events, but if any place would be haunted in the North Country, it would probably be the Balsams. More importantly, I noticed you never went into the undertunnels, James. And this is James talking now, not this gentleman. I never knew of the tunnels originally. Dennis never said anything about it, and if I did any research on this, I didn't see it. But okay, going back to what you said. The tunnels were once used for staff to move between different facilities during the winter, thus avoiding having to deal with the blizzards and guests. When a nearby factory closed in the 90s, they stored the mannequins used for plastic molding in those tunnels. Yes, indeed, there were and still may be hordes of rotting mannequins, hot steam, and faulty lights down there. It was the only way for the night staff to leave when all facilities locked down. Nobody told me of any haunted events during my tenure, but first rule of the night shift was that you were never to go alone into the tunnels. I do not know if anyone had the stomach to remove those blank faces in midst of grasping rotting arms, but I doubt it. My father also worked on the crew renovating it in the late 90s, when the last guys to own it came in and bought it. Apparently for construction workers, there was an actual system for dealing with creepy places like that. All work crews are grouped into 3 buddies and bring bright lamps as they work. As it turns out, the tunnels are full of dead ends and unfinished works. My night supervisor was scared out of his wits of those tunnels and high-strung as a result. Apparently, he worked at that factory before it closed. Now, while the Mount Washington Hotel is still thriving, the Balsams is a different story. Shortly after I wrote this article in 2010, it has been closed since December of 2011, almost 11 years now. The current owners are trying to seek financing for redevelopment of the resort, and the good news is that as of June of 2022, the funding may be commencing and we may see the Balsams reopen once again. Thank you for watching the video, and keep it scary.